Welcome back to another video, guys. In this one we're going to have a look at my hiking backpack. So, welcome back. Thank you once again for joining me in another video. A couple of weeks ago I filmed a video covering my bushcraft backpack. I'll leave a link up here and in the description. But in this one we're going to take a look at what I carry when I'm out hiking instead. So, apologies by the way if you hear some loud popping and stuff. There's, I believe, some shooting going on down on the estate at the bottom of the hill. So sorry about that, but shouldn't be too bad. So the pack itself is the Osprey Talon 26. 26 litre pack here from Osprey. Osprey is a really reputable company that I very much like. I've also got their Osprey Archeon 45 as my overnight bag. Super comfortable. It features their Osprey's Airscape back suspension system with really nice comfortable hip belts and waist straps. We'll have a look at the pack in more detail once it's empty. So having a look at what I carry, on the outside of the pack using Osprey's quick carry stow as you go system, I have my trekking poles. So these are Black Diamond Trail trekking poles. I believe they're made of aluminium, so they're quite heavy, but they are really comfortable and they have helped me get up plenty of hills. On the front of the Talon we have this stretchy pocket. One of the things that I keep in there is my waterproof map case with my map of the area I'm going to be in, as well as my silver compass. It's the same setup that I rock with my bushcraft kit, but it's more important in my opinion with this kit. The other thing that lives in this front pocket I'm sitting on, it's just my simple Trekmates sit mat. In the water bottle pocket I carry the same water bottle that I carry when I'm bushcrafting. This is a Camelback 1 litre. Keeps water perfectly air temperature. So in this case, rather cold. So in that side pocket, I carry a range cover for the backpack. This one's just a mountain equipment, not mountain equipment, mountain warehouse one. So it's blue, so that it's not as good as the orange ones in terms of signalling, but in terms of keeping the pack dry, that's fine. In the other side pocket today I was carrying the tripod, but I might sometimes, depending on the height, depending on the location, I might either add additional water, especially in the summer. I will always in the summer have an extra, I'll have 2 litres of water, but for winter like today, especially with the location I'm in, 1 litre of water will suffice. So I'll either carry extra water or some, stuff like that. In the top lid pocket of this pack, I carry my Katadyn Be-Free water filter. So again, I'm only carrying the 1 litre, but if I ran out of water I could say source from this little pond behind me here, if I can find a bit that's not frozen over. This is the 0.6 litre version. This is more than big enough in my opinion. I haven't actually used this that much, but certainly something I carry because water is one of the most important things. The only other thing that's in the top here is this little old sports first aid water. It's like a waterproof first aid pouch. All I had in here was the microphone for the camera to keep it dry. That wouldn't come with me if I was out hiking by myself or with a group or with the scouts or anything like that. I've only got that with me for today. Don't have anything in the hip belt pockets. If I was on, I might have some snacks and stuff in there, but not today. So opening the pack up, this pack kind of has a bit of an almost clamshell opening on the top. And the first thing right on the top of every pack I have, this is always on the top, is my first aid kit. This is a large first aid kit I keep it in an OEX dry bag, keep it dry, but inside it's it's a medic, what is it? Medic care pouch, don't know. That is stocked to the gills with stuff that could save my life, but also others' lives. That is the reason. A lot of people wonder why I carry such a large first aid kit. It's because this serves as both an IFAC and a group first aid kit, like a GFAC. I will cover the reasons why I have one kit that does both in a future video. Let me know if you want to see a standalone video on my first aid kit, because I am looking at doing that. But first aid kit, quite self-explanatory. My keys are on the key clip for that internal mesh pocket. There's nothing else in there. Food. This is something that on my bushcraft backpack video I got a couple of comments on saying, you know, no food or do you not carry food. I didn't have food in that pack that day, and if you've watched that video you'll know there was no food in that pack. The only thing I had was water and coffee. I didn't have food in that bag because that day I was only out to film that video with that pack. I wasn't out actually doing an activity. If I'm going out for the day, like I am today, I do take lunch. Now, the main question I got was do I prefer, you know, trail mix versus cereal bars versus fruit versus, you know, kind of what do I go for? Typically, if I'm out for a hike, I take fresh food. I know it's heavy, I know it's it can spoil, but generally that's what I take. Generally, when I'm out hiking, if I'm out with the scouts and stuff like this, the lunch break isn't particularly long, so I don't want to use things like dehydrated meals because then I have to boil water and all of that. It also feels a little bit like showing off. It's like I've got hot food, you've got a sandwich kind of idea. I don't like that. So tend to go with fresh food. So for today my lunch is a sandwich, a banana, and then I've also got a couple of double chocolate cereal bars here. Quite low on calories but full of sugars and stuff. It's a good booster. This is not, the snacks are kind of more for throughout the day, but this is a small lunch that I would only take for things like when I'm out, for example what I'm doing today. So it's 11:30 now. I left the house about 11:15, something like that, 10:30, 11:15. I'm not going to be out for very long. I'm not very far from the house. If I'm going to be going up something like hills and mountains, like larger ones, like Ben Agan, which we did recently, I might take a little bit more for my lunch. And certainly if I'm out with a group for like the scouts and things like that for a longer hike, I tend to take backup stuff for them, like extra cereal bars, packets of things like Jelly Babies, because they are fantastic morale boosters. But hopefully for those of you that were asking about food, that kind of answers it. If I'm out camping, I do find dehydrated meals easier, but it's getting a hold of them. Obviously you can buy them online and stuff. I haven't got many at the moment, so I haven't got any at the moment in fact, so it's fresh food. So one of the main differences between how I pack a hiking rucksack or day sack or whatever you want to call it, backpack, compared to a bushcraft one is, in a bushcraft one you'll notice everything was just inside this pack, and that pack, the TA Trekker, it's made of like Cordura kind of material, like your nylon-y fabric. It's not particularly waterproof. It does an alright job at repelling water. It certainly did it with snow the other day, when I got caught in a pretty heavy snow shower. The Osprey packs, the ones that are made from this kind of nylon plasticky material, do a much better job at repelling water, but I still pack almost everything inside waterproof liners. So you'll see this blue bag here is a dry bag, so everything else that I've got with me today is in that. Everything that's not in that is either in a separate waterproof bag, such as the first aid kit in its red dry bag, or it's like the Katadyn Be Free, it doesn't matter if it gets wet. Now the reason for that is, while it's not necessary that the weather is going to be worse where I am with my hiking bag, it quite often is. Especially considering when I'm doing bushcraft, I'm normally in woodlands which do a pretty good job at protecting you from the weather as is. When I'm out hiking, maybe not today because we're in a woodland environment, but if I'm going up the hills like Ben Aigen, Ben Rinnes, or bigger, all of a sudden you become more susceptible to bad weather. And in those situations I tend to find that I need my equipment dry, because if you look at something like, for bushcraft, I've got my smock in my bag. That's like the only extra layer I've got in my smock, in my bag, even in the winter, unless it's something that I'm wearing that I've taken off and put in the bag. In terms of hiking, I've got a lot more layers and stuff that actually could be needed to save my life, or potentially someone else's life. So I want to keep stuff protected. So anyway, let's continue. So I've got a Carabiner dry bag here. This is it's an old dry bag. It's pretty worn out, and the seams, the tape on the seams has come off. So this isn't particularly waterproof, and I know with what I've just said that might be a bit counterintuitive. The reasoning for that not being too much of a concern is this pack does a very good job at keeping the water out anyway. So this extra layer is not, doesn't need to necessarily be watertight, let's say. So first thing right on the top is my down jacket. So this is a Peter Storm down jacket. Weight for weight, down is better than synthetic, although in terms of the climate that I live in, with being in Scotland, it's very wet. Synthetic is maybe a better option, but this jacket really is used in conjunction with the layers that I might be wearing, such as today I'm wearing my shell and my mid-layer fleece. Depending on the conditions, some of these might be in the pack and things like that. But if I was to stop somewhere like this, and I was to chill down, I can throw this on. If it's wet, I can throw this on underneath my shell. If it's dry, I can just throw it on over the top and keep warm that way. Now I'm going to do my best to keep this in the pack whilst I do the rest of it, because I'm not putting that down on the snow. The next thing is this pouch. Now again, you've seen this bag lots of times, and if you did watch the bushcraft backpack video, you'll have seen this, but you might be saying that's got more in it, and you would be right. So in this I have a warm hat, I have a couple of buff snoods, and I have my waterproof trousers. The other thing that would often live in here as well is my gloves, but they're in my pocket today because when you're in the wind it's a little bit chilly on the hands, so I've kept them more easily accessible. So this is a little bit more bulked up than my bushcraft version. Now it's the same bag, it's the same kit, I just add things in and take them out based on the scenario. This isn't a bug out bag or anything like that, it's not permanently loaded. I unpack and repack, before and after activities, because a lot of the equipment that's in here is also used when I'm doing bushcraft. So really the main thing that's been added to this from the bushcraft one is the waterproof trousers. I don't tend to wear waterproof trousers when I'm out doing bushcraft because they're in the woods, but when you're out hiking in the hills, especially when you've got the mindset I do, which is weather can't stop us, I'm going to go out if it's lashing rain anyway. Sometimes I go out intentionally because it's tipping it down with rain. So I've always got waterproof trousers with me when I'm out in the woods. And even if it's not raining, they can act as a bit of a windbreaker or things like that. If you're wearing something like I do when I'm hiking these mountain equipment shell, like soft shell kind of fabric material, they don't do a very good job. They do an alright job at cutting the wind, but sometimes you get a little bit cold when you stop for lunch or whatever. Throw your waterproof trousers on, it's an extra layer, keeps you warm. The next thing is my stove. So this is the OEX Takana stove. I'm not going to take it out the bag, but basically it's OEX's version of a jet boil at a much lower cost, and in my opinion works not as well. I haven't use the jet boil, but works pretty darn well. I tell you something, I have boiled my silicone cup amount of water, my silicone cup that I carry, which is in here. I have boiled that amount of water in like a minute and a half to 2 minutes with this thing. It's fantastic. You can store the gas bottle and everything inside it if you use the small ones. And as I say, so that's in there along with the burner. It's the pot, the canister support, the burner with a piezo igniter, the gas canister, an additional pot support if you want to use other pots. Don't really need that when I'm out hiking, but it's in there. And then I keep my silicone cup and my little titanium spoon. So everything that I need is in there, and I can also, of course, carry things like coffees and stuff in there. Now, when I'm out bushcrafting, you might have seen that I was carrying my brew kit with my Trangia spirit burner. You might be asking, why are you carrying why are you not using that? Why are you using a much larger stove to do the same job? And the answer really comes down to a case of speed. When I'm hiking, I tend to not be going as slow. So like when I'm bushcrafting, I'm taking everything slowly. I'm just taking my time and enjoying being out. When I'm hiking, I tend to be trying to achieve an objective of getting to the top of this hill or something like that. And so being able to boil water quickly is helpful. Also, gas is more reliable, tends to last longer, and much larger pot because, again, groups. Typically, in terms of outdoor activities, if I'm out with a group, I'm probably hiking, I'm probably using this bag with this setup. So, larger pot, so that I can, boil water for other people. Continuing down, we have my possibles pouch, or my carry everything extra pouch. Not going to go into too much detail in this. I covered it in full detail in my bushcraft backpack video, so again, go check that one out if you haven't already. The main thing that I want to talk about is a head torch. I always have a head torch on me when I'm out with doing anything more than a hour-long walk around the village. I'm taking a head torch with me, and even if it is an hour-long walk around the village, if it's anything after like 3 o'clock at this time of year, I'm taking a head torch with me, because it can really save your butt, and spare batteries are in there as well. So I carry that. It is quite hefty for hiking, but I'll explain something that'll explain that a bit better in a minute. Next up, we have the most important kit. I'm only joking. This is my toilet kit, poop kit, whatever you want to call it. So I've actually not long set this up. So again, it's a little dry bag. In here, got a bottle of hand sanitizer for keeping clean. Got some toilet roll. I've got a packet of hand wipes, again keeping clean, and a little trowel for digging cat holes. This isn't necessarily the lightest trowel, but it is functional. If you want something lighter, there's good options out there, such as the Ace of Spades trowel. Paul Messner from down in England uses that, or certainly used to. Super good bit of kit. So this is actually something that quite possibly might get added to my bushcraft backpack as well. As I say, I've made this up since filming that bushcraft backpack video, but that is something that I might carry. You never know, you don't want to get caught short, and certainly when you're up in the hills, a kit like that is better, because in the woods you can dig a hole with a stick. Up in the hills, you're going to struggle to find a stick often to dig the hole, so there we are. And last but not least, the most important bit of kit, but it's at the bottom, yes, is a survival shelter. So this is a Life Systems Survival Shelter 2, so it's a 2-man with rucksacks. This is new to me. Got this at Christmas, and I hope I never have to use it, but it is a very important bit of kit. Basically, if you're up in the hills and you get stranded and get stuck, or you injure yourself or someone else is injured, you can put them in this, or put yourself in this, or put both of you in this. As I say, it's up to 2 people and rucksacks, and it will be full-size camping rucksacks. And it's bright orange, so emergency services like mountain rescue and stuff can find you, but also it cuts the wind, and once it heats up from the body heat, they can get incredibly warm. You can also use these a bit more regularly. Say you're out, you're hiking, it's lunchtime, you want to stop, but it's absolutely tipping it down with rain. You can pop this up, but I would be careful doing that, specifically because if there happens to be a mountain rescue helicopter or any kind of helicopter, or even a person with a drone or something like that, and they spot a survival shelter on the top of a hill, it's quite possible that they will investigate, and you may waste their time, especially if there's a mountain rescue helicopter out searching for someone on the top of the same hill you're on, or a very nearby hill, and they see a survival shelter. They might presume that that is the casualty they are looking for, so be careful doing that, but you can. Some people are going to say, what's the point carrying one of these in a woodland environment, such as I am today, because you're not going to need it to build a shelter. Well, yes, for starters, yes, but also so yes, in this environment, there's not much need, but I tend to try my very best to keep my kit the same no matter where I'm going, whether that be bushcraft or hiking, doesn't really matter, or even EDC and pocket carry. The stuff that's in here, when I'm going to pack this bag, I pack it with everything from the last, no matter what it is, so that it creates a routine of what I should have, and that way I know if I'm out with this bag on a hike, I have this with me. Of course, that is subject to error if I forget something, but I do tend to keep lists as well, and do my best. You might be asking why I keep this at the bottom of my pack. Well, at the end of the day, I'm fingers crossed, not going to ever need to use this, and it's something that throughout the activity that I'm out, the chances of me needing to use it, or the frequency of use, is pretty low, so it's at the bottom, but I still could get this out really quite quickly, because I can just get my hand in, boom, it's out. One thing that's important to note if you're going to carry things like this, and you very much should, if you're going up hills and mountains, you should have a survival shelter. Either one like this, or a one-person like bothy bag. If you're going out with larger groups, especially if you're a mountain leader, of course you're going to have bigger ones, and you'll know that yourself. But if you're going to carry something like this, actually be prepared to use it. There was a case a wee while ago of some people up on I think it was up on the Cairngorm Plateau. They were out hiking, and for whatever reason, I can't remember the full story, it was a good 6 months ago or something now probably. They were out hiking, they got caught out, they ended up getting stranded or lost or something like that, and they did die. And afterwards, when Mountain Rescue, you know, eventually got them and got them off the hill, they had stuff like this in the bottom of the bag. In fact, they had, from what I remember hearing, they had pretty much all of the survival equipment. They had this stuff, they had, you know, the bright orange survival bags and things like that at the bottom of their rucksack that had never been taken out. And they passed away on this hill. And had they used that equipment, they probably could have saved their lives. So, if you're going to carry stuff like this, be prepared to use it. It's not like a first aid kit where I would say be trained on how to use the stuff you're carrying. For example, in a first aid kit, I don't carry tourniquets because I'm not trained on how to use them yet, so I don't carry them because that risks me using them when I shouldn't. Something like this, it's not so much you need to be trained, you just need to be prepared to actually use it. And remember, if you've got stuff like this, use the darn thing if you're in a bad situation. So to quickly look at the pack, again, so you've got front mesh pocket, 2 water bottle pockets, you've got a top lid pocket, you've got a inside mesh pocket with a key carrier, you've got Osprey's Airscape back panel system, you've got a chest strap, sternum strap, as well as a hip belt strap with hip belt pockets. You've got their storage Yugo system, but you've also got the ISAX storage system there. So that is a review of the pack. So to quickly cover also what I'm wearing, because for hiking it's different to bushcraft, and in my outdoor clothing video I didn't really cover very well my hiking kit. So lower half, it's still darn tough socks inside of Scarpa Terra Gore-Tex boots. On a cold day like today, I've got thermal leggings on underneath my trousers. My trousers of choice are either, my go-tos are my mountain equipment, can't remember the model name, I'll stick it on screen. These are really comfortable, really stretchy and all of that, or a pair of Peter Storm trousers of a similar variety. Top half, I've got a thermal base layer on here, long sleeve, zip up, not merino wool, but still does the job, it's polyester. I have my Northridge fleece with the hood, and then I have my Craghoppers Lorton jacket. As I said earlier, if it's warmer or drier, if it's dry, the shell jacket will go in the bag. If it's warmer but wet, the fleece will go in the bag, but I'll keep the shell jacket on. And if it's warm and dry, both will come off and I'll just be hiking in a base layer. It all varies. And of course on my head I have my buff cap. That's kind of my go-to when hiking. I've got paracord bracelets on sometimes, and I always carry a watch. So this is the Casio Tough Solar. Always have a watch with you, super good. Always be keeping track of the time. So that's going to wrap this video up there, guys. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, hit that like button down below, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing as well. Until next time, bye for now.